Well, hello, friends. Welcome one and welcome all. I can't offer much in this outdoor hall, but sit here and rest. You must be weary, and I'll share with you Tales of Tyria. Yes, this week on Tales of Tyria, we've got a whole lot of stuff to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Most importantly, we're talking about the Elementalist. But before that, we've got some news. Guild Wars 2 breaks 2 million sales, the flip jump, and, well, a launch trailer? Yes, welcome one and welcome all. Welcome to another exciting episode of Tales of Tyria right here. I am Bridger. I'll be your host for this evening for your Guild Wars 2 podcast for discussion, insight, and stratagem. Stratagem or strategy? I was trying to go with both of them, kind of molded it together. It was a good time. Anyway, we are almost live from the great free city of Lion's Arch. As you can see right here, we're in the Cloud Skimmer Tavern. It's great that they have us back here every week. We only break about half of it every time we come, but she's still standing, so we're just going to keep coming back. Glad you got a hold of the program, however you may have found it. Tell a friend or three, won't you? I have just introduced myself yet again. I am Bridger, and let me introduce you to everybody else that we've got coming on here. We have Eyedrops, also live from Lion's Arch, and I didn't actually get that. Man, let's just go to the main screen. There we go. Also live from Lion's Arch, as you can see by the Mystic Forge.
Awkward. What's up, everybody? Ellie Extraordinaire. Nice to be here.
Indeed. Welcome, sir, fellow Elementalist. And as you can see, we also have Miane from Team Legacy as well, also a fellow Elementalist, here to bring us the PvP insight on the Elementalist. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad at all. So, this is the week of the faceless avatars.
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
That's how he looks in real life, guys. It's true. That's how it is. All right, so did you guys do anything interesting, anything awesome this week in Guild Wars 2?
I mean, isn't everything awesome in Guild Wars 2?
Well, you got me there, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything particularly awesome this week?
Miane, how's the tournament scene going?
Yeah, tournaments are actually working, so that's a big surprise there.
Wow, you're talking. It sounds like you're not necessarily talking about the same game that just made 2 million sales. You're like, well, it's a good thing the game's working. That's good. That's good so far.
Personally, tournaments have been doing a lot better. I mean, rewards are finally working, and the servers have not been crashing as often as they used to. So that's good.
Absolutely. So I guess that has something to do with the 2 million sales that they announced a couple of times, and that'll jump us into our news segment this week. Because wow, 2 million sales in less than a month, I guess you could say. What do you guys think? Is that something along what you predicted, or is it more popular or less popular?
I'd say it's right at what I was thinking it was going to be. So it's not really something that's, out of the blue for me. I honestly believe that the game is, very much worthy of that type of sales. So it doesn't necessarily strike me as being odd.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I thought only like 500 people that I saw day by day in the Heart of the Mist bought the game, to be honest.
I didn't know there was these other people playing. Oh my god. The other thing is, it's probably one of the best values you can get, short of like the orange box, right? Or Civilization 5. For its hours of play per dollar. Guild Wars 2, I've already played more for $60 than a ton of other games combined that I bought. There's only a few contenders that live up there in the 100 plus hour mark, which is something like, for me, Team Fortress or Left 4 Dead, a lot of those replayable kind of multiplayer first-person shooters. Battlefield series is certainly in there. So it's certainly earned its money with me. So I'm going to stop now and cancel the podcast. See you guys later. Oh, no, wait. No, it's still got more
later,
life.
Dude.
Still got more life in it, as it turns out. So, next up in the news this week, World v. World is now going to weekly cycles instead of daily cycles. So, Miane, I know that you only sit on a Treb all day in World v. World, but how do you see this affecting your trebucheting abilities? Oh my
I
god!
think they're gonna have to add some sort of like portable trebuchets that I can carry around because 1 week is a long time. But I mean, those 24-hour matches were getting kind of boring. I mean, you know how the big push at the beginning, every single time you're switching like servers, so you're going against like those very first minutes are really important. So I'm sure like people were getting annoyed of doing the same day by day, logging in just to do that and stuff.
It appears that the other two servers that we're matched up against are getting bored of doing the same thing day by day. I just saw that. It was bad before, but wow, that is actually something that we had feared, is that if one server is doing really well, that one or both of the other servers will just give up and stop trying. And that's what it looks like when they give up and stop trying. That's not that, you know, our server is doing super freaking awesome and amazing and we're dominating them that much. That's them not being there. Because when they're there, they have, you know, 15 or 25% between the two of them. That seems to be a problem, because we still got like 5 days left, and nobody's going to have fun doing World versus World, are they?
Yeah, that is true too.
Yeah, I mean, what you're seeing here is kind of a product of just a misplacement as far as our server is concerned within the ranking structure, because it is a newly formed server. So we were put down a tier below because we didn't accumulate enough points during the point tally time, whatever they called it or whatever. But basically, exactly what you're saying, Bridger, is once a server gets up in these week-long matches, it's like the other two servers just disappear. They've lost their morale drops, they've lost their will to keep trying, and then it just balloons out of control. Ideally, you'd like to see all the servers at the exact same population level and skill level so that you have an active world versus world 24/7 for that entire week, but more realistically, with the current situation as far as the server pops are concerned, that's only going to happen in very rare circumstances. So I think we were all pretty much kind of strung out after the 24-hour sessions. You have to get in there right when the server resets at 7 Eastern, to get those potential points rolling right away and get your dominance established. Otherwise, you just fall too far behind too quickly, and you don't have enough time to catch back up. So everybody was like staying up for 24-hour play sessions back to back to back, and it was a little too much, to be honest. So I think we're all pretty happy to see the match style now spread out to that what is it, 5 to 7 days now?
I think it's supposed to be a week, so we'll see how long they're going to stick with the 1 week matchups. To be honest, I was actually expecting more servers at launch. Like, I imagined 50 servers, and then, the top 10 or so would be the kind of spots that were really competitive. But it looks like there's only about top 3 or 4 that really play super hardcore in World versus World, and they're like, we've got to get Oceanics on here, and we got to get them organized and make sure there's people in there 24/7, and just basically the man hours, making sure that they're always playing. And so when we have been matched up against the likes of Jade Quarry or Henge of Denravi, it's really intense and fun, and actually I always feel the pressure to, like, I gotta be in there, otherwise I'm letting my bros down. And broettes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Broettes, let's be politically correct. So for those of you that can't see what we're showing on the screen here, there's let's see, 675 or 675?
Yeah, 675
for our server per 15 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is, and then plus 10 for each of the other servers. We have like 95% of all of the points on the entire map. So that's definitely a problem. We'll see how ArenaNet adjusts to this, because damn near every choice that they make is awesome, and the way that they fix problems is always unique and interesting. So we'll definitely see if this is something that gets on their radar, or if it's something that balances itself out over time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have faith in them, that's for sure. I was concerned initially that let's say the top 3 servers are playing each other, and then that low team gets dropped out of that tier. Basically, the server that came in last place for that big match gets dropped down a tier, and the difference is like night and day between those two tiers. It goes from a really, really close, intense matchup for the whole duration of the match to, like, okay, I haven't logged in World versus World in 2 days, and my server's winning by 700 points. It's like I don't know what they're going to do about that to combat the huge discrepancies as far as population are concerned, but hopefully they got some pretty good ideas.
Yeah, there's plenty of things you can do to give people reason to go into World versus World and fight, even even for, 10 or 15 points. Because really what we're seeing here is people saying, well, the other team has more than both of our servers combined right now in terms of total score, and they're clearly better or more organized or just have more people than us. What's the point if we're not going to win, or we have no chance of winning? There's no point. It's just going to feel frustrating to constantly lose points over and over again. Yeah. So you have to give them some reason to scrap just for the 5 or 10 points, or even, if they were actually trying, the 25, 40, 50 points that they could get. It feels like there needs to be a reason to have just those few points. So we'll see if there's something they can do about that. But something they can't do anything about is how terrible, terrible this was. Is that a desert scene? Is that desert? I think it's desert. Oh no, wait. It's some guy frozen. It's like he's stuck. Why is he stuck? What is this?
Stood by. Paralyzed.
Oh, he's paralyzed. Why is he paralyzed? He's got blood and
fear and doubt.
Fear and doubt. He's got
This
fire
makes
under
no
his
sense.
skin. Why? I don't understand.
Molten skin?
Vulcan skin. Oh, this guy. He's running. There's police sirens. He's got a gas mask. He's a terrorist. He's running from the cops. This is for the secret world, I can tell you. Yep, look at he's making...
For those who dream of a better world.
Yep, definitely.
The time has come.
Or maybe APB?
To open our eyes.
Whoa, it's a chick. I didn't see that. That was good.
Those graphics.
Yeah.
Eyes up.
Is that Storm from X-Men?
I don't know, but now they've got a bunch of, college kids drinking the Kool-Aid here, and, you can walk on fire, buddy, totally. Let's do it. You got a
What's the
David
point
Blaine.
of Vulcan and Co?
And now, wait, why are we swimming underwater? Is this the new Mario?
Oh, I think I saw this in 2012, that movie where the world
Obligatory
ends.
girl in nothing but a thin cotton dress while underwater shot? I don't know.
I'm okay with that. I'm honestly okay with it.
Our time.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Tattoos
I'm liking
coming out of
this.
nowhere.
Oh, she's a Nord.
Oh my god, it's Guild Wars 2! What?
I honestly wanted to see the guy transforming into a char.
Yeah, where's the guy transforming into a char? That's no fair. All we saw was the hot chick transforming into a Nord. And then, spoilers, Zaitan shows up.
Oh, man.
What is that about? Our time is now. Yeah, I'm still not...
I'm not getting it either.
The best
What the
thing...
hell did we just watch?
I have no clue. But the best comment I saw was, good guy ArenaNet sees the secret world is failing, makes a trailer for them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was an art piece.
I was just I was totally speechless. I couldn't put my emotions into words of what I was watching, but yeah, that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. All kinds of people have been trying to defend it and say something like, "Oh, well, you see, it's an art piece. This is metaphorical and it's about the Guild Wars 2 breaking the mold of old MMOs and sort of rebelling against that genre, dude."
So what you're trying to tell me is that I can walk on fire?
I think so.
I want what they were smoking, that's for sure.
You know what I think it was? Some marketing guys let's just show a bunch of hot young college students hanging around a fire, enjoying themselves, and try to get that attached to Guild Wars 2 somehow. And that's just morphed into this. If we just make kids think if they play Guild Wars 2, they too can attend a beach party with a bunch of other young, good-looking people and walk on fire.
You can have a social life by
Yes.
playing this game.
I think that's what they were doing.
Incredible.
Oh, man. Yeah,
How much time do you think they spent on that? Their production team, whoever was doing that.
That's a good question. They must have hired that out. I can't imagine that's an actual ArenaNet production. I don't know. I don't want to think it anyway.
You don't want to believe.
I don't want to believe. As Demoiselle says in the chat room, a trailer that needs an explanation is a bad trailer. But other people have pointed out a trailer that makes you go, what the hell did I just watch? makes you talk about it to other people. Because now you go to somebody else and say, I just saw this trailer for Guild Wars 2 that was the most terrible piece of blah I've ever seen, and now you're talking about Guild Wars 2. So
yeah,
maybe
the shock and awe campaign.
that's it. It's subversive.
There
It's
you go.
like subliminal or something. Now we're talking about it. Damn it!
On the
curses!
same note, ArenaNet, if you're listening and you guys want a bomb trailer, I would be more than happy to put one together for you guys that could probably beat that one that we just watched.
You
so,
would just make your Elementalist dance, wouldn't you?
there you go.
All right. So yeah, enough of that. It was a really weird trailer. I don't even. So anyway, let's talk about flips. Eyedrops, did you know there's such a thing as a dodge jump?
I
Jump
did.
dodge?
As a matter of fact,
I did not.
I've pulled it off numerous times, and I've actually almost mastered the ability,
The timing.
and it's fantastic.
It really is. And for those of you that are not familiar with this, yes, that was actually a jump dodge, what you saw right there. This is when you hit jump and dodge at exactly the same moment, and it's superior visually to the normal dodge. Let's put it that way. Oh man, look at that backflip. He went much farther than a normal dodge, and he backflipped through the air. In addition to all of that. Now, the other claim is that you can do this and it will make you jump as far as you normally do out of combat, but you can do this in combat and still get the long range. Is that true?
Say that again?
clue.
So
I'm
you know
sorry.
how when you enter combat, your character slows down, right?
Right.
Which means when you try to do a jumping puzzle and somebody shoots you with an arrow and you enter combat right as you're about to jump, you fall to your death.
Correct.
So, the claim is that you can do this particular jump and it still goes the distance even when you're in combat.
You mean there's an actual use for it other than just looking cool?
That's what I am told.
Mind blown.
It does
I
make
need-
sense though.
I need
Because, you're
confirmation.
you're getting the altitude from the jump, but you're using the dodge, which is not affected really by being in combat.
So I tried to look up, I tried to go through this video and find this guy. Man, his video's dark. I tried to find him like in combat doing a jump or something like that, and so far I haven't been able to. But maybe it's in here. I don't know. There's a link in the show notes to it. It's very interesting, and now you can look way more badass because you listened to Tales of Tyria and/or read Reddit along with the
Yeah.
other 50,000 people that do.
For those interested in pulling this move off, it is almost. I just pulled it off there for you right there live, but you're almost jumping and dodging at the same time. It's actually the jump is cued just before the dodge. There's just a small millisecond difference there.
You can see people around Eyedrops trying to do it right now.
Everybody's in Lion's Arch. We should do this every week. We should just have a camera in Lion's Arch of the audience, and they can all do /sit and /cheer when they agree and /boo when they disagree. Is there a /boo? There should be if there isn't.
We need to learn the emotes for
Yeah.
sure.
To the wiki! No, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. We must move
Yeah.
on. All right.
Pro tip, you can actually type /wiki and it will open the wiki for you.
Yes, it will, which is awesome. Oops, I don't want to contact Stumbler. Go away. Why is this here? I don't want to share it. Stupid social networking. I hate social. All right. So, John Smith on the state of the Guild Wars 2 economy. This is them going, yeah, we noticed there's a lot of things on the trading post sitting at vendor price, and we realize people are losing money on that. So what we did was we created a bunch of temporary special magic mystic forge recipes to get rid of the surplus items while we try to shift the supply and demand, which I wonder if that means they're going to A, increase the recipe cost involving anything with wood or iron, or just make trees and nodes drop 2 things instead of 3. That's certainly possible. And then rich nodes will be that much more awesome. But what they did was they said, well, while adjusting the supply and demand, we will bring markets closer to the non-vendor-based equilibrium. There is still the matter of the massive surplus that currently exists. To address this surplus, we've created new limited-time Mystic Forge recipes that use these items. These recipes create boxes that give chances for gold and some cool items. So then there's a picture, and it's very simple. It's got a glob of ectoplasm, a mystic coin, and then 250 stacks of either two 250 stacks of butter, greenwood dowels, greenwood logs, soft logs, or hardwood logs, so or iron ore. So if you go to the Mystic Forge, that will potentially create boxes and give you chances for gold or cool items. Why didn't you give us a demonstration? You don't have any ecto. Damn it!
No, I can do it for you if you want. Honestly, though, I think it's a misstep because they could have got rid of all of that stuff much easier if they hadn't put two of the most valuable things in the game as part of the recipe. It's ridiculous to me. Like
Butter.
no, ecto and mystic coins. Like I'm sure many people have been reading Reddit or whatever. The full legendary recipe has been, figured out and posted, so it's there for public knowledge, and that contains both of those things in mass quantity. So I'm not about to waste my ectos and my mystic coins on some whatever item that they're trying to. I think it's a portable mystic forge, right?
Well, it says these recipes create boxes that give chances for gold and some cool items. So it's, I guess it's a gambling thing.
Oh, like some everlasting tonics and things
Perhaps,
like that.
yeah.
Like seriously, if this would happen maybe a month down the road after I've already got my legendary and
yeah, but what do you
I'm
need
happy with
one glob of ecto and a mystic coin? Come on, those can't be that valuable.
Yeah, but you're not going to get everything you want out of the box on your first try.
You're right. It's like a drug. I've got to try it with another ecto
Like,
and another.
oh, I was just unlucky. I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again,
Gambling.
and again.
There we go.
And then you're broke.
And then you're broke. And then you got no ecto, and no one likes you because you don't have ecto anymore. All
And
right.
Infinite sadness.
So, with all that having been said, let's jump over to the mailbag, ladies and gentlemen. This is from Korean Kin, a ranger on Henge of Denravi. He says, quote, "Hey, I love the cast, top notch. Let me tell you, there are some bad podcasts out there for Guild Wars 2, and be proud, you are the best. Congratulations, guys. Unquote. Congratulations, guys. You get to be on the best podcast. The last week's episode, nothing, because this guy said this one's the best. All right.
Hell
Quote,
yeah.
my question is, should DPS meters be added to Guild Wars 2? As a PvEer, I want to be able to min-max, but also want a way to measure myself. In dungeons, I find bosses take a long time to kill. I'd love a way to see some stats afterwards. I think people have a really binary look at damage meters. 1, they are elitist and do not matter. 2, they are an invaluable tool. Only noobs do not use them. Please discuss. I keep coming up with builds, but have no way to easily see which one has better or worse damage. Maybe I was just a spoiled WoW nerd with World of Logs." Unquote. All right, Miane, Mr. PvP for this show.
Yeah.
Would damage meters help you perfect your build?
Not really, because there's really so much more than just doing damage. There's usually when we're looking at bringing any profession into PvP, we're not just looking at how high your numbers can go, right? Like, we look at the utility you bring, we look at the kind of mitigation they have, and all this other stuff. So it wouldn't really make a difference for me in PvP. I'm not quite sure about PvE, but no, I don't need DPS meters in PvP.
All right, Eyedrops, Mr. Dungeons, what do you think?
Well, I mean, the guy has... What was the guy's name again?
Korean Kin.
Shout out to Korean Kin. But he has a valid concern, okay? Like, in order to min-max in the PvE area of the game, you have to know what you're doing. And if there's nothing you can look at other than combat logs, it's very hard to decipher, small little tweaks that you make to your build in order to really get that maximum whatever you're attempting to do. If it's maximum healing, maximum damage, maximum tanking, well, I don't think that's really necessarily a factor, but I mean, it's valid. The parsers, or damage meters, as the WoW guys like to call them, have been around since the very first MMOs, and they were always a really valuable tool to any group or solo person that was really trying to get the most out of their tunes or characters. And without that option, to really go in depth and look at what you're really doing on that actual numbers level, it makes it, there's kind of like a guessing game. So I can understand his concern, but realistically, the way the game is playing right now, you can pretty much do whatever you want with whatever profession, right? So, like, if you want to be a support Ellie, if you want to be a DPS Ellie, blah, blah, blah. And even if you spec really hard one direction, you're still able to contribute the opposite thing. So let's say I spec to be a support elementalist. I can still put out tons of damage, like ridiculous amounts of damage for being basically completely defensively statted via consumables and other methods. There's some like traits and things that you can pick that convert defensive stats to offensive stats, things like that. But I would like to see it in like some kind of testing environment. Like in Guild Wars 1, if you played Guild Wars 1, there was the Master of Damage, I think his name was. You could take your team there, your arena team, your guild team or whatever, and you could practice spiking on it. You could practice sustained damage and degen pressure and things like that. And then after a certain amount of time, he would tell you how much damage you've done to him over however much time. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a very valuable tool, and they could easily throw that into like the Heart of the Mists, for example.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't want to see meters on everybody's screens, as they already said they don't want mods and things like that, but any type of in-game tool that people are looking at while they're doing dungeons and like, lol, oh my god, I'm totally schooling you on the parse, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't need that in this game at all, ever. So
Yeah, that will be terrible.
I think as far as they should ever even consider taking it is possibly replicating that Master of Damage type NPC in the Heart of the Mists.
That's what I could definitely see happening, and specifically, I mean, they've already got all those golems. They could easily have a thing where after the golem dies, it like in its death throes, it reads out, you know, damage input equals 12.6 DPS or you know whatever. You know, they could just read a damage, you know, 12,600 damage over 500, you know, over 5 seconds, and you know with 1,000 toughness mitigation, or you know whatever, any kind of cool thing like that. It could easily work.
One thing though, I hope ArenaNet doesn't forget. We have all these DPS like DPS trial waypoint, underwater ones. We have the NPCs, but we have no healing, like
nothing that'll hit you.
Yeah. Yeah, we have nothing
you.
that if you want to test out like your healing, you got to go fall off a cliff or buy one of those NPCs.
I've heard Brianna say so many times in TeamSpeak, hey, how about you go jump off that cliff real quick so I can heal you? Like, I've heard that probably 36 times in the past week. Like, seriously. That is
At the very least, make a waypoint that says like cliff waypoint so I can just teleport there and start jumping down and test out my healing.
Yeah. Cliff waypoint. Jump here to test healing. I could totally see that happening. All right. Fix the link to the show notes there. Sorry, guys. I had the wrong one. All right. So, speaking of show notes, if you guys want to check out any of the links that we talked about in this episode, go to talesoftyria.com. The show notes for episode number 49 will be there. And before we continue to the main segment, I did want to first thank Korean Kin for the question, and also wanted to send a get well soon message to Tim, a.k.a. Faint, from the Eon Nocturne Guild on Sea of Sorrows. Apparently, we answered his question last week on the show, or maybe the week before. I think it was last week. And then shortly afterwards, he got into a car accident. So I know he's in the hospital now. So hopefully this shout-out makes you feel better, buddy. And hope you're appreciating the podcast while you're there. Hopefully we can
get better soon.
Yeah, get well soon. There we go. So so definitely looking to move on now to the Elementalist Roundtable. I don't have anything special. I can't control the elements in real life.
Don't you have like a soundboard now?
I gotta set that up every time. That was custom coded for me. I gotta set it up every time. I could bring it. Maybe I'll set it up next week. All right.
So can we welcome fire in this segment, just like the trailer? Now, yes.
Yes. Now we can walk on fire because we are elementalists. That's how it works.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
Excellent. So, and as elementalists, let's break that word down, shall we? Because it's very important that we talk about the definitions of things. So, elementalist comes from L, as in the tropical storm, L, and then mentalist, this guy here, Patrick Jane. So, L, storm, plus the mentalist equals elementalist.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yes, now you understand, and we can move on. So let's pull up here the wiki, because the wiki knows all. We're going to talk all kinds of stuff about the Elementalist, and if you want to follow along, this would be a good place to go, because the wiki has probably the best set of statistics and information discussing the traits and skills that the Elementalist has. But first, before we go there, let's talk about the attunements. because obviously the unique ability of the Elementalist is swapping between multiple attunements. And for the purposes of this discussion, let's try to explain everything we're talking about. Because if I say, you know, oh man, I really like that staff 5, you guys are going to know what I'm talking about. The Elementalists in the audience are going to know what I'm talking about. But the guy who plays a Mesmer is going to be like, I don't know, I couldn't make it on the podcast today, and so instead I'm going to troll the chat, you know, because hi, freelancer. So let's try to explain when we're talking about skills. Don't just mention what their name is, mention what exactly that they do. So moving into this, attunements. So the main thing about the Elementalists is they get one weapon and they can swap through the 4 attunements. So Eyedrops, do you normally like swapping through attunements to get various abilities, or do you tend to stick in one attunement for any given situation?
That's a very good question, and I can answer that 100% that I enjoy switching attunements. That's where I find the skill cap is in playing the Elementalist. Like, anybody can sit in an attunement and, you know, Meteor Shower, Lull, Lava Font, all these different abilities, and just stay and do damage, or go into water and just heal. But where the Elementalist really becomes a viable profession is when you start switching those attunements and weaving your spells together in order to get the maximum effect. And I focus so much on that, I actually always go 30 points in Arcane just to get those faster attunement switches, just for that specific reason.
Indeed.
Miyane, you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the whole thing about being an Elementalist is knowing how to like manage all your skills through all the different attunements. And I agree that basically I feel forced right now to go 30 in Arcane because I just can't live with like really long cooldowns on my attunement swap.
For
So,
people
yeah.
that don't play Elementals, the default cooldown, if you switch away from fire, for example, and you go into earth in order to try and throw some kind of a immobilize or a stun on them, or some kind of a snare, for example, and then you want to shift back to fire to throw down more damage or to set burning up or something to that effect, you have to wait 15 seconds by default. And for when you throw 30 points of arcane in there, that brings it down to 9 seconds. So that really is a significant difference. And I'm in agreement with both of you guys here. I run 30 arcane everything that I do, basically, because that 9 seconds is way easier to shift. You know, usually what that means is if I'm in fire and I set them on fire and do a little bit of damage, then I'll jump into earth to keep somebody in place with a little bit of immobilize. Maybe I'll get to bleeding them a little bit, and then I'll jump into maybe I'll blind them once, then I'll jump into air to blind them again. And by the time I've done all that, fire's back up, and then I have the option to go into fire. Or if I need to get some regeneration, I can go into water. But having those options available as often as possible is really the key here. So, do you think the cooldown is too long by default because you have to feel like you have to put 30 points in arcane, or is that a playstyle thing?
Yeah, I actually think that it is too long because the thing is, like, you don't get this much recharge out of any single, like, the very most you will find is like 30 recharge in terms of like trades for, like, let's say utility skills, and like this being a core, like such a core mechanic for your profession, I do believe that it is too long of a cooldown by default. I mean, it's forcing you to go 30 to be able to do all these combinations across all the attunements, so... Yeah, I would like to see them being brought down and cooled down, so it doesn't make that big of a difference.
Eyedrops, what would be a good number? It's
Well,
like for default and then putting 30 points in arcane.
Well, I mean, if they're lowering it, right, then are we still keeping the cooldown reduction on the arcane line?
I think that's something that I would still keep. I would just make it less dramatic.
Okay.
So,
Well, for me, I think the duration that really the Elementalist starts to shine is 12 or less. Like, that's doable and not a complete pain in the ass to play. So I would probably start it right around 12 seconds as far as attunement switches. And then maybe if you did put 30 into arcane, I could see 8 or 7 seconds. I think if you get any less than that, it's probably going to become imbalanced to where then they have to start tweaking things again. So I don't think, you know, they would keep the same ratios or whatever. Because if you lowered the base to 12 and then you had the same ratios, then it would go all the way down to 6 seconds, right? So that's
something like that, yeah.
That's just too short. So I would say not going past 7 or 8. That's probably the sweet spot for maximum cooldown reduction on your attunement switching.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement. That was the number I was thinking. 12 to 9 or 12 to 8 probably makes the most sense. At least get 4 seconds out of the deal. And that, I think, would make me feel less impulsive to go all the way to 30 in Arcane. I still might want to go 30 in Arcane because there's some really cool major traits at the end of that. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the trait section. But right now, it feels like I have to go there. And if I'm going there already, I might as well use some arcane spells or try to get some good synergy in those traits and things. So let's move on to talking about the weapons. And we're going to weave in and out of PvP and World versus World. We're going to talk about all kinds of things here. So just make sure that when we talk about these things, describe, for PvE, this weapon is good for this and this is why. So let's talk staff. What's the staff good for?
Staff's good for a lot of things. I'll let Miyane handle the SPVP side of things because he's obviously specialized in that, and I know he likes to play a lot of staff Ellie. But staff, as far as PvE and World vs. World is concerned, is really the go-to weapon. If you're grouping up and doing dungeons, staff provides the most support. It provides the most AoE damage. It provides the most damage, period. And it definitely has the, I guess it's just the best all-around weapon. There's nothing really bad about the staff as far as dungeon grinding is concerned. And I know we got some people in chat saying they disagree, and that's totally fine. But this is legit. And in World vs. World, as far as staff is concerned, if you're not using a staff, you're doing it wrong. The skills that that you can bring to the table with the staff as an Elementalist in World vs. World are just are too important to your group, to yourself, and to your server, for that matter, to not be using a staff. Meteor Shower, Healing Rain, all of your CC abilities like Static Field, your ability to speed up your area as far as getting from point to point, things like that. Like, staff is really the go-to weapon in pretty much all situations for World vs. World and PvE.
All right, so Miyane, PvP, he mentioned that you play a lot of staff. Now, a lot of people I know talk about PvP, and they say, oh, Dagger is all the way, or Scepter Dagger, really good for, like, 1v1. What are your thoughts? Staff, PvP.
I do believe that staff has actually a lot of utility other than, just raw damage or healing. It has, number one, the most fields in the game. It also has, really low cooldown blast. Like, we see Eruption being one of the lowest cooldown blasts that I've seen so far. It brings a lot of control, and that is really important right now in capture the point style of game. I personally play support whenever I go staff, simply because, well, it really synergizes well with the whole trait lines that I take, which are usually arcane and water. The thing about staff also is that you can be also kind of glass cannon and still do well because the ratios on every single ratio in staff is good. What
do you mean by ratio? Explain that.
Ratio will be how good the skill scales, like the damage with in relation to power. So every point that you get with power is the damage increase that it's gonna do to your skill.
So a ratio would be like 0.45, meaning that 45% of your power is added as direct damage onto, for example, a fireball. I don't know if that's the actual number, but that's just an example.
Yeah, and they usually have also really high base damage. For example, staff number 2 in water, it does around, it has a base of around 1.4k damage. So yeah, all the ratios are kind of crazy on staff. Not to mention that it's also AoE, so I love staff in SPVP.
So let me see here. So what else are we going to talk about? So what do you guys think of the different attunements here? What's your favorite one to use in whatever your situation you normally go into? Because I'm a big fan of earth and fire on the staff for the most part. That's where I spend most of my time.
Right, those are your two primary damage builders as far as staff is if we're talking specifically about staff here. You're going to find yourself rotating between fire and earth a lot. You're going to basically cast everything you have in fire, and then you're going to switch to earth and cast maybe your 5 skill, which is your shock wave, which holds them in place, adds a bleed, and then you're going to cast your number 2 skill. I can't remember the name of it. It's basically an eruption from the ground, right? Which adds 5 stacks of bleed, which is pretty sweet. And then you're also going to tick on your aura for free because it has a separate internal global cooldown, so you can actually cast that while casting another spell. And then you're going to find yourself either switching back to fire or then going to your more support attunements, which basically revolve around water and air. So for water, you're going to be providing healing to your area. You're going to be providing an area slow, adding some vulnerability to the target, but not a lot of damage is coming from your water attunement. As a matter of fact, very little. And then you're going to switch over to air. You can throw out your static field, for some CC, some crowd control to kind of hold things in place if you're fighting a big group of mobs. And then you can also, add swiftness to your group. And then you do have that blind skill that you can throw on if you're attacking a mob that's hitting pretty hard. You can blind them to kind of prevent some of that damage. But definitely for your DPS and staff, you're going to be fire and earth. And then for your more support type ability choices is going to be your water and air attunements.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, when I'm using, staff is what I've been using basically the whole time I was leveling up. There was a period where I decided to grab a Scepter Dagger to have some fun with, and it was fun until I out-leveled them, and then I didn't want to replace both of them, so I got one staff and felt that was a lot easier to do while I was leveling up. But for the very most part, I use staff in PvP, I use staff... Well, not actually. I had dagger PvE. I use staff in PvE. I use staff in dungeons. I use staff in World v World. That's where I go everywhere with it. So to me, it's just amazing. You have almost infinite CC because if you think about it, fire is the only tree that doesn't have CC, but it does have an extra dodge, which is freaking awesome. Burning Retreat lets you give you an extra dodge that throws fire on the ground if something wants to follow you. In water, you've got Frozen Ground, which slows down the enemy, and which is very, very slow, chilling them, which also reduces their cooldown time, or increases their cooldown time. Then you've got Static Field in air, and Gust, which knocks them backwards, and Windborne Speed, which makes you go faster. And then Earth has Unsteady Ground, which cripples people that move through it, and Shockwave, which immobilizes your target and everybody between you and your target and everybody around your target. So it's like, okay, do you want to run away from something and kite it forever and never let it touch you? Staff is your frickin' weapon. I mean, in PvE, it's so easy to take on, like, 5-10 mobs as long as you keep these mass AoE CCs cycling correctly. It's awesome.
Right. Yeah, the kite ability of the staff is pretty incredible. And it's important to note that without kiting, you really can't fight anything as an elementalist. Our stats are so horrible as far as our survivability stats without speccing into them that you're not standing and tanking and lawler skating 100 blades groups of mobs in PvE.
Must be in PvE, yeah.
That's not going to happen at all. Like you're going to die instantly to whatever you're fighting. You have to kite the mobs. And so I think the most important thing to know about the staff is that it really doesn't have a noticeable weakness. All attunements are strong in their own right, and they all bring something to the table. And I think that's why everybody tends to, gravitate towards the staff, and also on top of the ratios that Miane was talking about a little earlier. And I know this guy in chat, this useless medic, he's talking about combo fields and things.
Now, let's not judge. Just because he's in chat doesn't...
Right, no,
oh,
he's
it's
contributing.
It's his name. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. He's contributing to the show here, but he's talking about he finds that combo fields are important, and that's what he likes to focus on. And I think, without actually doing any research other than just my raw knowledge of playing the Ellie, that staff has the most combo fields. So there's that to be noted as well.
Static field is also, I believe, the only lightning field, is it?
I think there's one other.
Hang on, let me see. Lightning field. I'm in the wiki, so bam.
Not exactly sure.
Static field is the only lightning field. Miane wins.
Oh, okay. Oh, but you can get it off the hammer too, though.
Yeah, but I mean...
But it's the same spell.
Oh, Conjure Lightning Hammer. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, it's the same spell. Okay.
Now, that is actually really cool because it's the only thing that allows area swiftness with a blast finisher, which if you didn't know and you're running around in PvE, get Arcane Blast and have a staff, and you have infinite swiftness, especially if you combine it with, what's the healing glyph? Glyph of healing? Is that the one that gives you swiftness?
They should call it the
Glyph of Elemental Harmony.
The glyph of only heal spell you should ever use.
Yeah.
That's what they should.
Because what I do is you go into air, You hit Windborne Speed, which gives you swiftness for what, 10 seconds? 10 seconds of swiftness. Then you hit your Glyph of Elemental Harmony, which, when you're in air, gives you 10 seconds of swiftness. Then you throw down a static field, and then throw your Blast Finisher on it, which the easiest one is the Arcane Blast, and that gives you, I think, 10 more seconds of swiftness. And by the way, the longest cooldown in those combos is 30 seconds. So you just, congratulations, have infinite swiftness.
Not to mention, well, actually, did you mention that you can actually switch in and out of air attunement? And if you have the appropriate trait in Arcane, that adds another tick of swiftness to your already
yes, you can do that.
Massive amount of swiftness. So yeah, like basically you get permanent swiftness just from using staff.
You mentioned that there's no downside. The only downside I can think of to the staff, what is this? How did that...
That is the downside.
That is the downside. Where did that come from? I got a virus in my computer. Anyway,
oh man.
The only downside of the staff that I can find is there is one interrupt on the entire staff, and it's the gust that pushes foes back. I mean, technically the status field is also an interrupt, but it only seems to hit foes that are crossing it. So if you see somebody winding up for a massive, like a warrior doing a big hammer slam or something else, and you're trying to stun them or push them back or knock them back, interrupting their attack, the only one you have is gust. There's no other interrupts on the entire staff. That's the only place where I think the staff does have a weakness. I'm not saying that should change, because the staff needs to have a weakness somewhere, but that's probably what the weakness that I would say.
Yeah, another thing about static field that I think is not listed on the tooltip, if you don't cage them first, like if they are inside the static field when you cast it, right, they will be stunned if they try to get out. But if you place a static field somewhere else and then they walk into it, they will be dazed, not stunned.
Really? That's an interesting bug. They said they updated the huh.
I am not sure if it's a bug or if it's a tooltip mistake. There's a lot of them, but yeah. So if you're trying to stun someone, you got to place the static field on top of them.
But I love, if I'm ever getting in trouble in World versus World, I always just throw a static field on me and run away, and just without fail, everybody that was chasing me runs right into it. Because by the time it actually casts, I'm like 10 feet away, and so it actually winds up casting behind me, encapsulating my foes. It's awesome. So, staff, it's great. Have one. I guess it's the answer.